So we have quite a few things in store for today. We've got a bunch of stuff to go over. So I know that we had a little emergency stream in the middle of the week where we covered some of the things. Specifically, there was a massive security issue that happened in the Kubernetes containers world. We'll cover it a little bit more today, but we'll just cover it briefly. I'm going to try moving forward for any massive thing like that I see come up, have those emergency streams in the middle of the week because they're really things that you should know about and should work to mitigate. So you can expect to see more of those from me in the future. Hopefully we don't have them all the time. But yeah, definitely had those. So we won't cover it in too much detail. I need to dig into it more myself whenever I get the time. Now, we're also going to recover some of the mother of all breaches because some researchers came out with some interesting findings about that breach. There was more in glibc and a bunch of security stuff. So a bunch of security stuff. The cloud was not too much. We have a decent number of things to talk about. Then we have two pretty exciting open source pieces of news that I think you really want to stick around and see. And we have a little bit of artificial intelligence stuff to talk about. So first things first. First thing on the list here we have is something from Malwarebytes. So we're talking security first. And the first thing on security is the mother of all breaches may contain new breach data. So originally it was assumed that a lot of this information in this breach was compiled from other breaches. But Malwarebytes has been putting together what all known breach data before and it seems to have new breach data in it. So that's an important thing to know and be aware of. When I first reported on this last week, it was merely a breach package, like a compiling of it, and we didn't have all the answers yet. And now it seems that there's actually some new breach data in this. Exactly where from, not quite sure yet. So, anyways. Good to know about. Another interesting one that we have talked about previously before was the Thanksgiving 2023 security incident. Now we talked about it, and when we talked about it when it happened, I think they announced it late in November. I think this was like the stream right after Thanksgiving. And when we talked about it, their blog post was very, very short. So they came out with a full blog post. I'm going to throw this in chat for you all. And you're more than welcome to go read it. We're not going to go read through all of it, but they basically break down more of what's happened since then, what they've done to secure their networks better. So they had, what was it? They call it Team Red or Code Red. Maybe it was Code Red. Anyways, they have they went through a Code Red where they went through and assessed their security posture on everything. And they go through all of that. One of the things I do think that you should check out is this. At the very bottom, they have in their indications of compromise. So if you're wanting to know if you've used Okta, so this was the breach that happened because of Okta's screw up, and that they were a little salty about because it's like the second time they've been compromised because of Okta. So they released this, which is really good. So you can go through and you can verify some of these things yourselves. So anyways, pretty cool. They even gave SHAs for the file descriptors. So anyways, it's pretty cool. So go check it out if you want to. I know that we've already covered it late last year. So I know a lot of us use Jenkins, and there's a pretty critical security vulnerability that happened in Jenkins. Let me give you guys this link as well. So if you're using Jenkins, I suggest that you read this because it actually seems to be fairly critical. And it allows unauthenticated attackers to read a limited amount of arbitrary files data and read only on authorized attackers to an entire arbitrary file in the Jenkins server. So basically, you could leak data through this. And since it's your build pipelines, it could be leaking quite a bit. go ahead and give it a check if you're running Jenkins, especially if there's, a lot of times I think Jenkins is isolated from the internet, and that's good. But there could be times when there's ways that you could interact with it. Also, just in general, even if it is isolated from the internet, doesn't mean that your network doesn't get breached in some other attack. And then if you have something like this sitting there, attackers are going to leverage it. That's what they do. They just try to hit things with known vulnerabilities on your network once they find one little way in. So it's important to cover. Let's go back up to the other one was in the GNU C library with slog. There was a vulnerability found. So I didn't go too far into this one. So I don't know a whole lot about it, but if you're using the GNU C library, I am not right now. It might be affecting you. So I would give it a check if that's you. So anyways, if this affects you, you should look into it. Google is offering a free access to fuzzing framework. So if you're wanting to look into that, this looks pretty interesting. I don't know what type of lock-in that they're wanting to get from you on this. So basically it's just an AI fuzzing tool that they have. But I don't know exactly how to use it. I was kind of looking around and I didn't see an easy way to do it. So I don't know. If I find something really cool on it, I'll dig around some more. You can give it a check if you like. All right. Commando Cat is the second campaign of the year targeting Docker. So Commando Cat came out targeting Docker API endpoints. So if you actually expose your Docker API endpoints to the internet, which I would highly recommend you don't, there's a good chance that you will be mining cryptocurrency very quickly. So especially in cloud environments. So I would recommend not doing that at all. Yep. And that's it for security. Did anybody else see anything in security that they would like to talk about? Now, remember, we also currently had the and I did a stream just on it, the leaked file descriptors in Docker build, and specifically this is actually in run C, not Docker build. There were actually some things with MobiKit in Docker as well. So I can pull that up and leave that as I should have left that as a link. Let me pull that up. So there was 3 specifically to Docker, but 1 specifically to run C that affect even if you used Cryo, because Cryo uses run C. So unless if you were using something like a VM and you weren't using a run C, these all affected you, or the big one affected you. Here's Sneak's write-up. Sneak was the group that found it. Yeah. So anyways, and this all depended on, all of this depended on you having a bad image. So all of it depended on you having a bad image. And yeah, so you can find it by going Docker leaky vessel. I think they called it leaky vessel. Leaky vessels. Yeah. Okay. This is the blog they initially released on it. So yep, and this is breaking out of the container onto the root file system. So basically it gives you root of the file, or of the, not the file, but the machine it's running on. All right. So that's it for security for me. Did you guys see anything else in security? Not a great week for the community as a whole. A lot of little things happened. But the leaky vessel is all patched. So what you need to do is you need to go and update everything, because there are patches for everything out there for each one of these. Yeah, 3 for Docker and 1 for run C. They all have patches, and it was handled, I think, very well. All right, let's jump into the cloud. Now, I usually go through AWS first, but because I try not to show bias at all, we're doing it a little differently. We're changing it up. we're going with Azure first. Azure first, just for you guys. Unless you guys saw something for, I'm going to give just a little bit more of a pause, so you guys can give me another security article if you found one. Now, if you have a cloud article that you would like to also present, I encourage everybody to bring a piece of news to our news time, so it can be kind of a place where we share, because I miss stuff. If you'd like to bring something, now is the time to share. Azure's HCI stack is gotten an update, so it's now generally available, and it has a bunch of stuff. So this is the Azure Arc stuff that allows you to run a core set of Azure features in your own hardware that you buy from them. It doesn't just run on any random hardware. Neither Azure's nor GCP's runs on random hardware, not that I know of at least. It runs on their hardware that you can buy from them, which might be a good point to. Anyways, it came out. There's some updates to it. I don't use it, so I can't really speak on these. There seems to be some ARM things that help, and the Azure Arc, which bridges your Azure account with your data center account. Those types of things. Seems cool if you use it. It's out. Go check it out. All right. Generally available continuous model monitoring in Azure Machine Learning. So just give you continuous model monitoring of your Azure Machine Learning. It's cool. It's out. Go use it. It's generally available. That means that it has an SLA behind it, and it's super powerful. All right, moving on. Azure API Center public preview got a couple of things coming out to it. So if you're using that, there's a Visual Studio Code extension. There's an extension in Visual Studio Code for literally just about everything. So that's nice. But you can also import APIs from Azure API Management, the CLI extension for Azure API Center, which I know a lot of us like CLIs. These things also allow you to script it a lot better. Not that I have scripted anything in the API Center. I don't use Azure a whole bunch, but this is nice to see. The last thing from Azure is the Istio add-on for AKS now supports plugin certificate authority. This is going to enable you to bring your own certificates to Azure's AKS. That's their Azure Kubernetes service. It's an Istio-based service mesh, so they're leveraging Istio to provide this to you. And when you're using the Istio-based, I believe they have their own service mesh as well. So they have two that they support. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong on that. I don't use AKS very much. But anyways, their Istio-based service mesh add-on currently is going to allow you to bring self-signed root certificates. So if you are in need of that, some people do need to bring their own certificates. You now have it. Let's jump into GCP. GCP was on fire. Okay, in that case, they actually weren't on fire. I couldn't find anything about anything that they did except for this, which I'm going to share with you all. This isn't anything that they did, but it was a cool blog article about 29 no-cost ways to leap ahead in your cloud career this February. So it has some pretty cool little learning places that you can learn about. A lot of them are Google Cloud. Not all of them are Google Cloud, but a lot of them are like Google Cloud learning things. So if you want to learn these things, go check out that link. And you can, this is the only thing I found. Did you guys find anything on GCP? I didn't. I searched through their blog. I searched through this article here, which, I guess they think the week ended on Friday, but that's fine. That's fine. I think it ends on Saturday the 3rd, but they're just doing Monday to Friday. That's fine. Yep. Anyways, I didn't see anything from them. I looked. Now, AWS actually has the big news. As of February 1st, everybody's bill has gone up in AWS. This is something I have warned you about, but Amazon's new AWS charge for using IPv4 is expected to rack up to $1 billion per year. So today is the day to switch to IPv6. Now, maybe I should make some YouTube videos on IPv6. I don't know what I would make. I'm not a networking expert myself. I do know how to use IPv6, but today is the day, people. $1 billion. That's a lot of money. That money is coming from people using AWS. So it's something to be cognizant of. How many IPv4 addresses? They're not terribly expensive. I think they're like $40 a month per IPv4 address, $10 to $40 a month. I could be wrong. It's half a penny per IP per hour. So what 1 second, I got to get a calculator. 1 second. All right, so 0.005 times what? It's like 750 hours in a month. That's $5. $5 a month. It's not a ton. So if you're using 1, 2, 3, 4 of these things, I don't know that it's actually worth the effort to change. If you're using a lot more than that, then you got to at least start thinking about it. Is it worth it? When does the cost of the engineering time? So this is what you really need to look for, and what a lot of people don't understand is what is the cost of your engineering time to move off of that. So if you said that it's going to cost you a single engineer for 3 weeks, are you going to make that money back? I'm not sure. How hard is your stack to change? How risky is it? What's the risk factor? There's a lot of things that add up into that to make that change. But again, some people could be using a lot of IPv4 addresses, and then it becomes much easier to make that call. All right. Let's get back into it. Other than that, a complete travesty, Amazon Q in Connect is now available in additional Asia Pacific and Canadian regions. So now people in Asia Pacific and Canada can fail to use a machine learning resource. I absolutely cannot get Amazon Q to do anything for me. Literally the most useless AI I have tried to use. Let's move on. AWS free tier now includes 750 hours of free public IPv4 addresses. So this is a nice change. It's to combat that they're charging. Now basically everybody gets one free public IPv4 for the first year. So if you're trying to play around, you don't get charged for an IPv4 address. Good change. I think I wasn't even thinking about this when they made that change for the people that want to just try something out on the free tier. This is a absolutely fantastic change. I'm glad they did this. Amazon IVS now supports playback restriction policies. So if you guys are using their IVS, which is their streaming service, this is, I forget what it's, I don't know how this is streaming. I completely forget how. The S is for streaming, but I forget what IVS, the IV is for. Anyways, it's their streaming. If you guys are using it, there's now playback restriction policies. So cool. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention was this AWS step function. This kind of got slid under. Now supports for 33 more services, including Amazon Q. That's so really just 32 because I'm only going to count the useful services that it brought to it. But again, I think a lot of people, a lot of businesses that don't have a strong developer, like you don't have a ton of developers, the AWS step functions to do stuff seems really powerful. I don't personally use them, but seems like they could be really cool, especially with all the integrations, except for Amazon Q. Okay. Another thing that here is the Amazon EKS got an upgrade so that you can support Kubernetes 129 now. So if you're wanting to move to the latest version of Kubernetes, Amazon supports it. So you can now run Amazon EKS in version 129. And that was it for the cloud. Did anybody else see anything else in the cloud that they'd like to share? We've covered the security already, and we just finished in the clouds. So security, we talked about some of the stuff. I know I had that emergency stream throughout the week about the containers. I'm going to try to continue doing that. If there's something that's really big, we're going to talk about it before we wait till the weekend. I don't know. We'll see how people like. It was kind of a short stream. I think that if I do it again, I'm gonna do a little bit more. I'm gonna come up with a little bit more content around whatever the emergency stream is. So it's not like just a 20-minute stream, because that's what it ended up being. And I don't know. That feels a little weird. So I'm going to try to do those again, but have at least an hour of content, maybe an hour and a half. So it's not just a really, really short stream. Because that's what it ended up being. Just a really, really short stream. All right, let's talk about what's happening in open source this week. There was two big things, not four, just two. Just two big things that came up that I think you all should really know about. Now, on my main YouTube channel, I released the highlights of an interview that I had with Amanda Brock from the Open UK. Now, she invited me to make the State of Open con this year, but because of my schedule, I just could not make it. I had way too much going on. There was just some things in my life I couldn't avoid. Yeah, I couldn't avoid. So I couldn't make it this year, but we are planning on me going next year to the State of Open Con. So I kind of hope to see you guys next year at the State of Open Con, but it is happening this week. So February 6th and 7th in London. So if there is still available tickets and you're in London or near London, you might want to go. I know that Amanda and Open UK is doing a lot of stuff to really help the open source communities. Whether it's in the legal and law arena. We're also probably, this is not sponsored, just in case anybody's wondering. Nobody has asked me. I do really support a lot of the stuff that they're doing, though, so I just wanted to give them a shout out. And I'd love to actually, hopefully, Amanda and I do some more stuff in the future. So around the CRA and a few other things. Around open source and open source licensing. So I look forward to maybe working a little bit more with her in the future, as well as being there next year. So definitely go check it out. Hopefully we're going to get their videos from the speeches and stuff that are given. We're going to get those released, hopefully, usually about a month after the conference. So I'm looking forward to that. So anyways, if nothing else, go check out Open UK, see what they're doing. They're always releasing stuff and taking polls and trying to understand the current state of open source. So, I'm going to leave a link to this. All right. The next thing that's happening, the next big thing that happened in open source, besides the security incidences, is Microsoft open sources the Eclipse thread. Now, if you don't know what ThreadX, it's a real-time operating system, and it was originally Azure RTOST or something. Azure Real-Time RT Operating System OS. RTOS? I think it's RTOS. Real-Time Operating System. So it was bought by Microsoft a little while ago, and Microsoft announced that they're going to open source it and hand it off to the Eclipse Foundation. So I've never actually used it, so I'm not sitting here telling you that this is the greatest thing ever, but it's used in a lot of stuff. It's found in Broadcom's processor powering the Raspberry Pi's SBCs. So it's used in a lot of places. It was released in 1997, which means it survived the .com bubble, and it's on almost as many devices as Java, which I found that as a pretty good thing. That was a joke. Anyways, so I don't know. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what gets done with it. Yeah. And so it's been renamed to Eclipse ThreadX. And it comes with a bunch of stuff from a file system, and whatnot. So I think it's cool. Again, I don't know a ton about it other than it exists. Russell, you've got about 10 embedded devices coming from the other side of the planet this week. They probably are running Eclipse ThreadX. I mean, probably actually Azure. Oh, it is RTOS. Nailed it. Nailed it. They're probably running that. So this is pretty cool. Did you guys see anything else happening in the open source world this week that I might have missed? This was the majority of the things that I saw that were very big, and yeah. Actually, we're about to get an ad, so we won't move on. We'll just stay on this. It's a minute 30 ad. We won't move on. So anybody that gets an ad, don't worry. You're building a keyboard? You're building a keyboard? That's awesome. Do you know what? Should I build my... So I want to actually... This keyboard, the F1 button is right here. Right here. And it's too close to the escape key. I have wanted to get a bigger... And like, I have big hands. I'm 6'2", and my hands... I don't know that my height has anything to do with my hand size, but if it did, I still have large hands. And I've been thinking about building a keyboard or getting a new keyboard that's split, but maybe I build it. Should we build it? I don't know. I 100% have farmer hands. 100%. Not insulting any farmer out there because their hands are stronger than mine. So maybe I don't have farmer hands because they have strong hands. I have. So the reason I'm asking if it supports Bluetooth, and this might sound dumb, but my desk can completely stand now, except for my keyboard cable can't make it. So Bluetooth and battery. Oh, I need a battery too. Actually, I don't, because I have a power strip on my desk. So I just need Bluetooth. I can power it. I don't need the battery power. I can have it plugged in. My desktop sits to, maybe I could put my desktop on my desk. I don't know. There's no such thing as a longer cable. Or I could buy a longer cable. You know, that has crossed my mind. Replacing the keyboard seems like the logical thing. The keyboard really feels too small for my hands. I mishit the F1 key when I'm hitting escape in Vim. You guys have seen that. I do it all the time. I cannot hit that escape key. All right, and we're back. We're just talking a little bit about keyboards, what we should build next, what we should do as far as keyboards go. Back into the news. All right, so Londo, how are you doing, Londo? How are you recovering from the code that I gave you on Thursday? Are you recovering from that? I'm so sorry. So sorry. So for any of you guys just joining, new to the stream, every Sunday we go over the news. We talk about software engineering news, cloud news, AI news, and I try to make it pertinent to engineers. Now, sometimes we get on tangents of things that are interesting, like, yeah, I'm so sorry. That's what you told the next person. Yeah. 100%. So today we're just going over the news. What has happened? And now we're on to the artificial intelligence. It was a chain of apologies. I think it was a ton of fun. I don't know about anybody else. Go check out Thursday morning stream. I thought it was a lot of fun. I had fun. I hope to do another one. One thing that I want to see come out of it that we didn't do is basically Togglebit gave me a coding challenge. He made something that didn't work and then handed it to me with no input. And so like I actually found it to be a ton of fun. We were like parsing a binary formatted file, but it was serializing, but it wasn't deserializing properly. And it was like a really interesting coding challenge. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a ton of fun. I want to do that more, where a bunch of us streamers just pass off coding challenges. You know, maybe make it a little bit more specific, not quite so open-ended, but like, here's a coding challenge. Have fun. It was like clustered for Rust. I had fun. I had fun doing it. So I'm going to see if we can't do more of it. I'm going to see if we can't do more of it. 100%. Londo actually made the parser kind of work. Yeah. I made the parser. I don't know that I did anything useful. But the test was awesome. Londo's like, I'm just gonna make tests. That was pretty good. All right. Let's jump in to. We have a little bit of, this is going to be a little opinion driven, but we actually have some news here too. We have OpenAI unveils a less lazy ChatGPT 4 Turbo. So a lot of people have been complaining recently that ChatGPT 4 has pretty much just refused to do stuff, and they're not wrong. It's been pretty lazy as of recently. The other thing that they did is they released the turbo version and reduced the prices for the turbo version. So right now, our follow and subscriber AI is using the turbo 3.5 turbo, which has worked perfectly for us. And it's gotten really cheap. So we generated yesterday. You know what? I can actually show you guys this if you want to know, because we generated over 150 alerts just yesterday, and we'll do it at the end of the stream. We can actually review how much that cost, because there was over 150 alerts on Saturday's stream, and each one of those got a generated message, and we can look at exactly how much that costs, if you guys are wondering. And each one generates about 160 characters of words. So anyways, it's getting cheaper to use. Oh yeah, Russell, yesterday was kind of crazy. Sorry you couldn't make it. Or I don't know if you could. I didn't see a message from you. I'm going to assume you couldn't make it. That was fun. We had a good time. We did some Rust, and then we did some HTMX, which was a ton of fun. All right. Bard can now generate photos. So if you guys are big Bard users, or Google's Gemini, and you're using it, it can now create. I don't know that this affects developers that much, but I needed it. AI content. Okay, the opinion piece that I'm going here is Sam Altman said that he thinks AI is going to create one-person unicorns, and I think that's kind of ridiculous. I found a couple different news articles talking about him saying it, so I didn't just leave it to one, because I tried to at least validate what. But the thing that makes a unicorn, a $1 billion company, isn't somebody that works with the OpenAI API. I'm sorry, OpenAPI. My gosh, that's a different thing altogether. The OpenAI API and makes something with a chat bot. You know how easy it is to reproduce a single person's amount of work? A single person's amount of work is not that difficult. And so if one person can create something with OpenAI's API, so can a team of 2 people. So can a team of 3 people. And what can they do to expand on it? So I think I fundamentally disagree with this. I don't think that this is because the problem is, if one person can do it, the competition, the number of 1 people teams out there is massive. Absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? That's all I saw for AI. There was some Gemini updates that Google released, and Bard is actually becoming Gemini. So you can't actually find Bard anymore. It's all just Gemini 2, can generate images, and OpenAI's prices have dropped. But that was all. Londo, you think HTMX is fun? It is fun. You know what? I'm releasing an HTMX video tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, there is a new HTMX where I'm critical on it. But I tried to make sure people understood that I think that it's a really cool and interesting take on the problem, and that it's also okay if you like using it. That's not what I'm trying to do. I just brought up, because I don't see people talking about why HTMX is a thing. Oh, okay. I get it. But that person can hire multiple AI people. I suppose, Russell. I suppose. Maybe I'm missing the point there. I'm always open to the fact that maybe I miss the point. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. All right. We have 3 little articles before we go. One I found immensely funny. That we'll save for the last. And 2, just general information about the state of tech as a whole. I was joking about using AI using AI. I thought you meant the one person hiring a bunch of like AI assistants. I got it. My bad. I wish I could claim that it was early morning. All right. So as a market as a whole, I tried to update you guys on like how the tech sector is doing as a whole. And really, we actually got really good news this week. As you can see in this article, that a lot of the stocks were up on really good reports from Amazon and Microsoft. So cloud software stocks led by Snowflake and Datadog rallied on Friday following strong earning results from Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet or Google. And so you could see a lot of this. One of the things, because some of the cloud said that the focus on cloud spending optimization, is starting to alleviate, as people are starting to get accustomed to this. And that led to, 13% year over year revenue increase for AWS. Azure growing 30%. Google 25%. So everything released, all 3 of the major cloud providers released good data. And then on top of that, so did Snowflake and Datadog. And I believe even MongoDB released really good results as well. So the entire sector has kind of had a nice uptick from that. Oh, guys, we have big news. We have big news in open source. Just in, you're learning this new right here. You can't find this news anywhere else. This news anywhere else. Scott B, one of the best Twitch people I know, is converting to the Superior OS. The last Linux Scott B is going to need. Everybody give him a round of applause. Londo, we don't talk about Arch derived. You go full Arch or you don't go Arch. Does anybody even use Arch derived? I'm seriously. Don't. What are you even talking about? I'm just teasing. You use whatever OS makes you happy. Dang it. I use it. I have the Steam Deck too. You're using Endeavor? Let me know how you like it. So far, I have managed not to completely booger my operating system. So, I'm not a Linux expert, and if I've used Arch, then it has to be pretty decent, or else I wouldn't be able to. Got him. All right. You're using i3? That's good. Everybody, you know what? I'm going to try Sway at one point. We'll have to make a stream out of it. I want to try and use Sway and Wayland, because NVIDIA supports Wayland now, right? It should be good. All right, so let's talk about something else. I don't know why this is in general. I have no idea. This should have been in open source. My bad, everyone. My bad. But if everybody's been trying to use the new PKL format from Apple and you've wanted to use it in Vim, well, you can now. Via tree sitter support, you get highlighting, syntax highlighting, code folding, and code snippets with the PKL NeoVim from Apple. This is fantastic. Last thing for the day. Then we can have general conversation. We can look at how much OpenAI cost for, we can actually calculate the number of tokens, although they'll show us the number of tokens as well. But remember, a token isn't per word. A token is like, it's not per character either. It's a token. I need to do a stream on that, what a token means. Anyways. You like that it's in the Apple GitHub? I found it funny just because it's Apple, and Apple isn't known for releasing open source on their GitHub. So that's why I put it in the news. Probably wasn't super newsworthy. I don't know that anybody on here uses the PKL format. I don't even know what it looks like. So anyways, the general is kind of funny because this next piece is actually pretty funny too. So there was a game called The Day Before, and the game has had so many problems from just like getting delayed releases and whatnot. And then like as it's all fallen apart, there is terrible stories about the working conditions and whatnot. So I wanted to talk about it because you know what? I want to tell you guys. So you think your job sucks right now? If you think your job sucks right now, this is a bit of encouragement to let you know that there is worse. There are worse working conditions out there. And that's what The Day Before seems like. So as we have it, The Day Before Fallout continues as former devs allege awful working conditions and management so bad that some staff didn't know they were supposed to make an MMO. Not only that, the article before this was talking about how you would be fined money, actual money, if you released a bug. You were actually you as a coder release bugs. I get it. It happens. And all of us strive not to release bugs. That's why we have tests in place, unit tests and whatnot. We don't like bugs. They would actually fine the developer money if they released a bug. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Apparently, some of them didn't even know they were making an MMO. So this has gone from really bad to insanely funny, terrible. Insanely terrible. Not funny for the people. Let me be honest. There were people here who had to live through this. And you know what? In that sense, not funny at all. 100% not funny. Funny in the sense that this could even happen is a little bit more like what I meant. Londo, that's a great take. I am a software developer. I write bugs. Yep. What country is it? So that was actually part of the issue that happened, was a lot of these came from post-Soviet countries and had developers that had very little choice of other places to work. Unfortunately, like I said, that's not the funny aspect. The thing that made this funny to me was like, you have management that's so bad, these people were trying to work on a game, they didn't even know what the game was. How do you have management this bad? How do you have a group of people that don't even know what type of game? That's like hiring a bunch of people to work on the next Kubernetes and not tell them. This sounds like our code relay. Here's some code, do some stuff. That sounds terrible, like laughable terrible. Like, right, Londo, the humor is of the ridiculousness of the situation, not the situation for the people that were stuck in it. That is all I was meaning. Our code relay was meant to be like that. Their development took after our code relay. We're going to call this the toggle programming methodology. The toggle, I'm just joking. Toggle, don't hate me. Yeah, so you guys can look it up. I'm going to send you this one. I'm going to send you this article. There's many more articles about it. Again, from developers not even knowing what they were making to the company actually fining developers for producing bugs, to volunteer workers that were volunteering to get the game tested and done. The catastrophic. Anyways, the studio is shut down. The studio is shut down. It's done. So that was the last I had for general news. Did anybody else see anything in the general news that we should talk about?